So in this video, what we're going to be looking at is the importance of mitosis or the mitotic cell cycle. Sometimes in the question, they may ask you, why do organisms choose to undergo mitosis? Well, there can be many answers to be given, but at least for Cambridge A levels, at least 3 to 4 explanations would be sufficient. The first reason an organism would choose to undergo mitosis is for growth. Something very important to know is only multicellular organisms undergo mitosis to grow. This does not happen in unicellular organisms. Now, what do I mean by that? All right, let's have 2 organisms over here. Now, the 2 organisms over here, we have a unicellular organism, which is made up of 1 cell, and we have a multicellular organism. It looks a bit like a worm, but what I'm just doing here is just to show you that the multicellular organism is made up of many cells. Now, when the unicellular organism undergoes mitosis, it produces 2 genetically identical cells. But the thing that happens is it did not grow. What exactly happened over here is it reproduced through a process known as asexual reproduction. This is not growing. This is reproduction because now you have 2 unicellular organisms. But when the multicellular organism undergoes mitosis, look at what happens to the number of cells. The number of cells increased if you count it, and it also becomes longer. But how many organisms is it still made up? Is it 2 organisms? No, it's still just 1 organism. This is what is called growth by mitosis. So growth by mitosis only happens in multicellular organisms. You have to be very careful over here. Unicellular organisms do not grow by mitosis. Sometimes exam questions can trick you over there. So in the exam, when you are trying to explain the reasons organisms undergo mitosis, you'll have to say growth in multicellular organisms. So just be careful with that one. Now, there can be also other reasons why organisms undergo mitosis. And the second one is repair of tissues. Now, you also have to be careful over here. It's not repair of cells. It is repair of tissues. Now, there is a difference between the term repair of cells and repair of tissues. What's the difference? Very simple. You cannot repair a cell. Plain and simple. All right? You cannot repair it by mitosis. Now, let's imagine a cell. Okay, I'm drawing a cell over here. It has its cytoplasm. And the cell undergoes a damage. The cell gets damaged. As you can see, the cell membrane has kind of ruptured a little bit over that, the damaged cell membrane. And the cell is shrinking because the cytoplasm is leaking out. Now, can you repair the cell? Can you just basically put a band-aid on it or a bandage and hope for the best? Like when you have a wound? You can't. That is basically useless. You cannot repair a cell. You cannot just plug it by putting a bandage on it, okay, and hope for the best and the cell will repair itself. You see, what will actually happen to the cell is the cell will just basically die off, okay? There is no such thing. The cell dies, okay? And when the cell dies, it has to be replaced. The cell that has been damaged cannot be repaired. That's the end of its life. However, mitosis allows something called the repair of tissues. Now, what exactly is a tissue? A tissue is just a group of similar cells carrying out a shared function, for example, epidermal tissues. So I'm just drawing out a group of epidermal cells forming the epidermal tissue. Now, imagine that some of the cells have died. Okay, they can die for various reasons. Maybe there was a damage, maybe they're not getting enough nutrients, or maybe they have reached the end of their lifespan. Okay, some cells do have that. It does happen to cells. Okay, they may have different lifespans and such. So in this case, you can see that the tissue is now no longer complete. Therefore, the tissue is damaged. So how does the tissue repair itself? The tissue repairs itself by some of the cells undergoing mitosis, some of the living cells undergoing mitosis. And those newly divided cells will grow. Remember, G1, they undergo the interphase, they will grow, and you will get new mature epidermal cells. And when you get those new mature epidermal cells, which I am just highlighting in pink color, those new epidermal cells will form the repaired epidermal tissue. That is how mitosis repairs tissues. It does not repair cells, it repairs tissues. be mindful when you're answering that in the exam. A lot of times students love to say mitosis allows the repair of cells. That is wrong. Mitosis actually allows the repair of tissues. It's a difference over there. And then, of course, the third reason why organisms undergo mitosis is for asexual reproduction, where they produce genetically identical offsprings. This can happen with unicellular organisms, where they can undergo mitosis repeatedly to produce a population of unicellular organisms. And also, by the way, asexual reproduction by mitosis can happen also in multicellular organisms. An example of a multicellular organism that I'm drawing, you don't have to memorize this one, but I'm just giving you an example. It's a type of plant called bryophyllum. Okay, now bryophyllum is a very interesting plant where you have a piece of the leaf over there, right, which is an organ, and the leaf, from the sides or the border of the leaves, you can see new plants growing by mitosis. So the bryophyllum produces small little offsprings from its original leaf cells, and from there, three new offsprings that are genetically identical are formed through a process known as mitosis. You don't have to go through the detail of that. And of course, the fourth one is replacement of cells, not repair of cells. Again, I'm repeating myself like a broken record over here because it's a common mistake students make. Okay, so it's not repair of cells, but replacement of cells. Now, what's the meaning of replacement of cells? Replacement of cells is quite simple. I'm drawing out a layer of skin cells, and as you can see, the topmost layer of the skin cells are shed out. Okay, we shed out dead skin cells which are exposed to the air. This is a completely natural process. Some of my students get a little bit, oh my god, our skin cells are dying, that's a bad thing. No, that's a normal natural process that is happening every single day. Okay, but as you can see, the topmost layer of the skin cells need to be replaced. So the cells need to be replaced, and the cells are replaced by a process known as mitosis. And when mitosis happens, the fourth and the topmost layer is reformed. I'm just going to color them so it makes it easier. So you have the brown layer at the top. So the brown layer is completely shed out because they are dead skin cells. So they need to be replaced. So what actually happens is after mitosis happens, the brown layer is completely replaced. These are the main reasons organisms undergo mitosis: growth in multicellular organisms, repair of tissues, asexual reproduction, and also replacement of cells. If you do a bit of extra reading, especially in chapter 11, mitosis also happens when your white blood cells are exposed to pathogens or antigens. That's called the immune response, and we will see that in chapter 11. All right? But these four reasons for mitosis would be sufficient for your exam, in your explanation in your exams.